enjoyed like the lesson of one word that comes to mind from Taekwondo is indomitable spirit.
Mm.
That regardless of what's in front of you, that you will participate, that you will go forward
Mm.
without any promise of success, without any promise of winning,
Mm.
that you will participate and you'll hone your craft. He was doing, I said, I can stand on a box and people will follow me. And I didn't even know why I would believe that, but
Mm.
I did believe that
Mm.
somehow. It just was like a realization. And then it became clear to me over the years that like when you stand in front, that I should really, really study and look into what I'm saying and not
Yeah.
just spout what shows up, um, because there's a real responsibility. And I think I've learned from my father to just trust that it'll work out. That if I take steps forward and I spend time near people who I admire,
Mm.
um, that it'll work itself out. And that if the other lesson he was saying that was that I shouldn't run from anything, that I should run towards things. I shouldn't leave a job because I hate it. I should pursue a job because I love it. Welcome to From Awkward, where we listen for stories from awkward towards grace, from awkward towards less awkward. Today I'm with my friend Mahnaz Bhatti, and she's interviewing me. We might learn a little bit more about her on the way, um, but in our conversations we found that we have great joy kind of learning more about each other, and I'm going to hand it off to her, and she gets to ask me a whole bunch of questions. So we'll see how it goes. It might be a quite a long ride.
Let's see. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for inviting me. I feel really honored to be doing this. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So obviously, I know you through the Green School as a parent there. We've become friends. But I'm really curious about your journey. Let's start at the beginning. So where would you like to start? Where were you
Oh,
born?
the beginning. I was born in Trivandrum, Kerala, the capital
Okay.
of the southern state.
Mm-hmm.
We come from at least 10 generations of Kerala people.
Mm-hmm.
Our family is well rooted across that map. And since I was born, or even before, even since 20 years before I was born, our family was going to 5 different continents to live.
Mm.
My parents were already living in Austria when I was born. My mom came back to India to have me, and a couple years later, my brother.
Okay.
So we lived in Vienna till I was 3, and then the next 2 years until I was 5, outside Frankfurt in Oberursel in Germany.
Okay.
Uh, and as a 5-year-old, I came to the U.S., a little brown kid speaking German,
Yeah.
and Malayalam. Malayalam is our language from South India,
Yeah.
and we spoke that in the summers in India, and also with my mom.
Okay. Okay. So your father spoke with you in German?
No, my parents spoke to, like I don't know, like back then, back
Yeah.
in Germany.
Yeah.
They're fluent in English.
Yeah.
They know German.
Okay.
English is their first language. They
Yeah.
probably dreamed in English,
Yeah.
and they read basically all their books and education in English.
Okay.
So I don't know that they spoke to us in English before age 5, and when we ask them, they don't remember much from before.
Okay. All right. So you went to New York at the age of 5,
Hmm.
speaking mostly German and Malayalam. And how long did you spend in New York? Like, is that most of your childhood?
So we flew into New York, and I grew up in New Jersey, in
Okay.
Princeton, New Jersey, which is a cute college town, maybe one of the best towns that America has to offer.
Mm.
Yeah, so I came to grade 1, I think, as a little German-speaking kid, and I sat with. They put me in the corner with Akisato. I forget his last name. So the Japanese kid, and the German-speaking kid sat in the corner playing blocks. And I remember the teacher wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
I somehow remember her just constantly being disappointed. And even a year later, the next teacher, I think, called my mom in and was very concerned
Yeah.
because there was a deficit.
Yeah.
And she called my parents, and my mom was there, and they had a picture of a rooster for my mom to see. And they
Okay.
said, he calls this a chicken. And she's like, uh-huh, and? It's clearly a rooster. Your
Yeah.
son can grasp the concept of these two. My mom's told the story numerous times.
Yeah.
But we learned English, my brother and I, very quickly.
Okay.
Probably within 6 months, we were as
Mm.
fluent as other kids.
Okay.
I remember being in 2nd grade and like getting 100% on a spelling test, and other kids not doing well
In English.
in English. And I was like, wait, how do these kids not like?
Yeah.
How do they not already like have all of this stuff,
Yeah.
these capabilities? And it was just 4-letter words and
Mm.
and the like. But I just remember like just being trying to prove that I could be like in the group
Mm.
because you start being on the outside.
Mm.
And in New Jersey at that time, there weren't many Indian kids, brown
Okay.
kids. People knew I wasn't white. They knew I wasn't black. They knew I wasn't Guatemalan.
Yeah.
Um, and they still have to make fun of you. So they found ways.
Okay, so how long were you in New Jersey for? Was this most of
No,
your childhood?
my father still lives in the same house. My parents lived in that house for 40
Okay.
years.
Okay.
And my father continues to live in the same house. So
Mm.
I left at age 18 to go to college in Baltimore.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I guess there's a lot of richness to get through. I was a good Boy Scout. I
Mm-hmm.
was a choir kid in my youth.
Yeah.
Um, youth group. I think I just always was trying to figure out like in group, out group. Like, and I think in Princeton, I don't think I realized so much later that like money played a big role in like how class was structured. Um,
Okay.
like for most of my childhood, age 8 to 18, so I guess 10 years of my childhood, we didn't really have health insurance or access to that. So we didn't really think about
Mm.
like that as an option.
Okay.
It didn't feel like a deficit. My parents didn't like present it like that.
Yeah.
But when my dad changed jobs when I was 8,
Mm.
it just wasn't like, just didn't make sense, I guess, for them to have that.
Mm.
Um, college in Baltimore, I studied international relations and economic development and women's studies.
Women's studies.
Yeah, well, it's part of the international at Hopkins at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, all the women's studies courses fell under the international relations requirements.
Did
My
it?
interest was in if you build a path from my childhood, it was
Yeah.
really a sense of belonging and who gets to be in group and who gets to be out group. And the
Okay.
extreme of that in LA gangs was clear. Like when you see movies from the 90s about that.
Mm.
And in warfare, clearly there's somebody you're willing to kill because they don't agree with your
Yeah.
bosses, your political leadership.
Yeah.
Um, and so it bothered me. It
Mm.
bothered me enough that in the youth group I was able to go to the Peace in the Middle East conference in Washington, D.C., and I rallied people and kids to come around and find the budget for the high school to send us there.
Mm.
And
So you were very active.
I was I was pretty active, yeah.
Okay.
I led the, there wasn't a president of the choir, but I was a senior patrol leader of the Boy Scouts,
Mm-hmm.
which meant for at least 2 years, I was charged with like making a program for half an hour every Monday,
Mm.
probably at like 5:30 or 6, for half an hour for boys 11 to 18 to listen to whatever I was presenting, or I could compel one of them to present.
Okay.
From sailing to knot tying to first aid and whatnot.
Okay. And that was in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, and I think it's probably one of the greatest lessons I learned was how to like keep the intention
Mm.
of boys 11 to 18, and it
Mm.
transferred into adulthood. Um, and it takes me back to a story from when I was 7.
Yeah.
My uncle once took me on a train to visit family I think it was in Kollam, Quailon
Mm-hmm.
in Kerala. And we get out of the train, we take a ride, we get to a park, seems like a park, I remember vaguely. And
Mm.
I remember a man standing on what seemed like a soapbox, like a plastic crate,
Mm-hmm.
and talking to 20, 30 people. And he was preaching religious goods at people, sending people to hell and to heaven and whatnot. And I remember thinking as a 7-year-old, hey, if I don't make it past elementary school, if I fail in 2 years, if I fail in 4th grade,
Mm.
then I can do this. I
What
can
he was doing.
what he was doing, I said I can stand on a box and people will follow me. And I didn't even know why I would believe that, but
Mm.
I did believe that somehow.
Mm.
It just was like a realization. And then it became clear to me over the years that like when you stand in front, that I should really, really study and look into what I'm saying and not just
Yeah.
spout what shows up. Because there's a real responsibility, and I think a lot of people just want to keep their head down and
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
by or do
There is a
what
lot of
they're told.
responsibility. Absolutely. So when I just want to just go back to the point where you were saying where you went to India. Like, was this a regular thing? Would your parents take you to India every summer? I
Yeah.
mean, okay, so you'd go
My
home
mother, I
back.
think, was like aching for India. She
Mm.
had an arranged marriage,
Mm-hmm.
as did my father, for each other.
Okay.
And yeah, so we go basically for 2 or 3 months every summer, and sometimes like leaving early from school or getting to school
Mm.
late. But really, as much of that time as we could figure out to be there, which is why I still have Malayalam to some extent.
Yeah.
I can order in the restaurants and get around in the taxi
Yeah.
in Kerala. And yeah, so it was really important. Family was really important. We
Mm.
were very aware of our family tree. Our
Okay.
parents' siblings, our grandparents' siblings, and even beyond. So there's a little bit of a bragging right for who knows the family tree best,
Okay.
and you
And
could
that's got to be
see,
you.
huh?
That's got to be
Yeah, it all comes back.
you.
At this
Yeah.
moment, I'm drawing a blank,
Yeah.
but when my cousins pushed me, yes, you know I'm related to you, right? And you say,
Yeah.
yes, it's my mother's father's.
Yeah. 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 Interesting. So, did you grow up in with a faith at all?
Um, my parents were not religious, and they didn't compel us to be religious.
Mm-hmm.
We joined a Presbyterian church on the main
Okay.
street in Princeton,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom chose that basically from the choir.
Okay.
Um, she didn't really speak of knowing the distinction from Episcopalian to Presbyterian to Catholic. Of
Okay.
course, she knows, um, but yeah, so that's how that decision was made, and we fell into choir. And our dear friend Sue Ellen Page told the story lots of times to us and to whoever would listen,
Mm-hmm.
that two boys, a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, came to her
Yeah.
door at her office at the church, and says, "We hear you have a good choir.
Yeah.
Can we join your choir, please?" In my soprano voice.
Yeah.
So I very quickly became a first soprano and
Wow.
sang for years in her choirs, and loved it. I really it was just great to find like that joy in there.
Mm.
And it was me and a whole bunch of girls, like usually much older.
Yeah.
So if I'm in sixth grade, I was in the high school girls choir,
Right.
the Bach choir, very sweet.
Yeah.
And I think I met him in the first boy in that choir, but
Okay.
it was great. We got to travel to other schools and to other places to perform. So I got to get pulled out of school to sing,
Mm-hmm.
and I still hear the soprano part when I listen to John Rutter's Requiem
Yeah.
or certain
It's very powerful.
certain pieces.
So, did you have a love for music or singing before you joined the
I
choir?
didn't seek out like organized choir.
Right.
Before that, the only organized thing I remember is joining the martial arts. I did karate at the YMCA, the local like
Yeah.
nonprofit group,
Yeah.
to learn that, and it was kind of to fill the time. I didn't quite understand why I was kicking a kid uh, at the tournament, and so by age 11 and with a brown belt, I left. But choir, I think my mom was happy to have us find like good role models
Okay.
and just strong people with a strong presence. And
Mm.
Sue Ellen Page was just definitely one of those. She
Mm.
led choirs at our church and also in the capital city called Trenton nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and really instilled in us like excellence and professionalism and finding like the best way to participate creatively.
Mm.
And she was very religious, and we were happy to execute her song for her.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, it was in the name of her religion, and for us, it was in the name of supporting a just very decent, elegant, beautiful woman who could sing like an angel.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
So, where did the choir take you? Like, where did you sing?
Church choir and the high school choir were both big parts of my life at the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the church stuff was very local,
Okay.
and the high school choir was also quite ambitious. We ended up singing in Colmar in France, in Firenze in the Duomo, in the
Wow.
Pantheon in Rome.
This is high school.
In high school, we traveled.
Incredible.
There was money raised,
Yeah.
and I think some other families put in more money so other families could go.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of them. We competed in the Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center is a nice big it's a big
Mm-hmm.
hall in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
where national honor events happen. So we were named like number 3 choir in the country,
Right.
but also number 3 choir in New Jersey. So it was a little bitter because we were the third best in the country and in our little state.
Yeah. Nice. So, did you actually have any singing lessons, or was it your teacher that taught you how to sing in the choir?
Teach us. She definitely was one of the best choir teachers around. I think she
Mm.
taught choir teachers, choir directors how to
Okay.
teach.
Okay.
She wrote articles, and she may have written a book, which I haven't read. And she was close with there was like relatively famous choir director people in the
Mm.
U.S. Some names come to mind, like Helen Kemp. And there was a combination of talent and luck and genetics and her managing our our practice. I mean, clearly we didn't read music or have music theory before meeting her.
Right, yeah.
And so she instilled that in us in a way that was just natural. So it didn't even feel like learning or having more capability. It was just that each week we got to like do better.
Hmm.
And she really needed us to listen and focus, and like there was a obedience picture in there,
Okay.
which is necessary because she only had like 60 minutes a week
Yeah.
in one choir and 60
Yeah.
minutes a week in the soprano choir. And I really didn't think of it as like an accolade or like something to be
Hmm.
brag about. To
You
the
just
extent
enjoyed
that,
it. Hmm.
well, to the extent that when I applied for colleges when I was 17 and 18, I didn't mention music at all. I didn't even know I was supposed to like. It didn't really occur to me that like we're supposed to like say all the places we sang and like how
Hmm.
cool we were and look how creative we are.
Yeah.
And it like really was an afterthought. Like even after like all the like, letters came back, I was like, oh, I could have mentioned that we did those things.
There's something beautiful about that innocence, though. It's like this place
Yeah.
where you just have joy. But it is. Like, I've heard you sing. We'll talk about that later. Um, okay, so
Well, let me
you.
say a little bit more about
Yeah,
that, which
please
is that
do.
it was definitely like beautiful to perform. We performed on Sundays at church service for most of the time. That was most of our performance. And we learned songs from all different cultures. We
Mm.
learned, we sang in Latin, in German, in Italian, in Zulu, um, in Old Hebrew. We'd had professors from Princeton, linguistics professors, teach us
Wow.
like Old
That's crazy.
Hebrew, like
That's
language,
incredible.
ulu umamigu, and we'd like learn and memorize like these songs. It was really special education that we
Yeah.
got to like benefit from that, and we just took it for granted. And
Yeah.
even performing on some of the stages on Princeton campus, which is just like 100 meters next to the church,
Mm.
these are really special places that like world famous people perform at.
Mm.
And I didn't really have any imagination that I'd be a singer as an adult. It didn't cross my mind that I need to be on a bigger stage or be a soloist. We did operas also within the church, and we
Wow.
had small solos there.
Okay.
But it really didn't occur to me that I would like be in the creative space. So I didn't like write that in my applications.
Yeah. Yeah.
And plus it comes from being like immigrants, right?
Yeah.
My parents had they're like in their mind, the scores dictate where your possibilities are,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And the US in the 90s, it was different. It was already being more humanities focused and more well-rounded
Mm-hmm.
candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And already the number of Indian students was like showing up everywhere. So that wasn't like a minority that they're trying to like get more of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was really special just to have that. And to the extent that when I got to college and the choir there was singing the same songs I'd sung, and they weren't doing it well, I could just hear her voice saying like, come on guys, like you don't
Wow.
get to present that song.
Okay.
There was a saying she'd say, better never than late. Like don't start your measure, don't start your part late and mess it up. You can start like at the next measure or like when it makes sense, but
Mm.
don't blurt when you're not supposed to.
Now,
So
there's a
better never than
lesson.
late. Yeah, it was like, don't like in a way the show must go on and like the attention to you can't be greater than the attention for the masses,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
group, for the whole ethos. And for her it was really about making sure that her message and her worship was like whole and like to the best of her
Mm.
ability.
Mm.
And for us it might have been to impress her or to feel good or to feel self-expressed somehow in a way where we didn't have words for other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's a profound part of your childhood. It certainly had an impact on your yoga classes. Anyway, so remind me what you did again. So
Yeah, so it was international relations
okay,
with a concentration in economics,
yeah,
social development,
okay,
and women's studies.
okay,
So you take enough courses, and it covers those bases.
okay,
But international relations, you could have a focus in languages, or politics, or
okay.
history, or all these things.
And
So
what did you choose?
when I went to social development, it turns out that a lot of the development story is an understanding like women's historiography and women's history and women like leadership within women. Among women, which is leadership among people.
That's
Um,
powerful. It's amazing that you had that.
Yeah, it was
It's a
amazing.
grounding.
We read Audre Lorde and we read Chinua Achebe and a lot of authors from around the world. And of course, there were disagreements among among caste and race and
Yeah.
among women
Yeah.
who felt they were they were meant to be leadership, or they were meant to have a voice and weren't.
Mm.
Um, and I think I said earlier to you before we started recording that in a sentence, I found that the social development program or the professors there really were just instilling that. But the research shows if you give women in villages across the world money without judgment, that they might do a better thing with it than if you don't. Or
Mm.
if you make them go through paperwork and make them
Yeah, do the
prove
admin.
that the money was spent or the
Yeah.
receipt was shown, and if it was lost, that they don't get the dollar.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so there's really this special understanding of this, like the intrinsic wisdom of people
Mm.
that we have to kind of figure out. And then to what extent can a bank or a microloan group trust
Yeah.
that?
Okay. And so that's your time dabbling in international relations.
So within university, actually what took most of my time ended up being, besides coursework and learning how to read
Yeah.
at that pace, because I didn't never really read a whole book in high school.
Okay.
So I got by with that. I would just listen to the teacher on their lessons and
Yeah.
like know what they'd be talking about next day.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure if I counted as dyslexic early on, but I definitely didn't. I read about one whole book for school.
Okay.
And I joined this program where I had to read like hundreds of pages a week.
Mm.
So I had to like figure out and learn like what speed reading meant and how to teach my brain how to like participate at this level, because I wasn't going to fail.
Okay.
So in high school we didn't specialize. We just did
Yeah.
whatever, chemistry and physics and basic stuff. I really had a hard time with my physics teacher. He was really mean. I thought he would take.
It's hard to pass a subject when you have it.
It's hard to forget him.
Yeah.
I didn't wish him any kindness at the time. So in college, I didn't study any sciences really, except for like some basic things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because the assistant dean of admissions is who interviewed me.
Mm.
And besides like getting to know me or evaluate me like he should,
Yeah.
I got the sense he was really trying to make sure I wasn't pre-medicine, that I wasn't pursuing medicine. Because Johns Hopkins was known for an excellent pre-medical program and a medical program.
Okay.
At different times, it was considered number one and number two for medical school and different kinds of research.
Mm.
And no, I was like, I volunteer a lot in lots of things, and like I spent one whole hour in the hospital, so don't worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
And but most of my college time was spent actually in Taekwondo.
Okay.
And in what was called the Hopkins Organization for Programming.
Okay.
So I literally ended up in my senior year, like leading a group of 24 students, and we had a budget of like over $50,000 to do things. There was a bar on campus, so we had literally well over 100 events a year to plan. We learned how to negotiate, and we figured out how to negotiate for Adam Sandler to come to campus.
Okay.
We found out his calendar.
Yeah.
We figured out that between North Carolina and Providence, Rhode Island, that there was like a 4-day stint, and his bus tour could stop at our place.
Yeah.
We negotiated his price down by 75%.
Wow. Okay.
We paid the money to pay his fee. The school almost, like the treasurer of the school, who's a student, almost had me kicked off of school because he said I was wasting and like squandering
all this money,
like Hopkins dollars. And luckily, and actually up to then, there'd never been an event that sold out that room. I think it was Shriver Hall. 1,100 tickets, and they'd never had an event by the Hop that had sold out all the seats.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make it. It was $27,000.
Mm.
Was
Wow.
our final amount that we had to pay for things back in
for Adam Sandler to come and visit
for 1 hour of Adam Sandler, back like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I wanted to sell the tickets for $20 a piece. So we'd absorb $7,000 of loss that the school would like subsidize.
Yeah.
And the treasurer like leaned into me, and like there was stories in the paper, school paper, of how this group was a sham, and how this guy, the leader of this group, is showing favoritism and like and squandering money at the same time.
Yeah.
And then like more stuff. And it ended up going perfectly. We actually sold out the tickets in cash, in hand. Kids slept out overnight, like back before there was like internet and apps and things.
Yeah.
And within 45 minutes, we had $22,000 in cash in a burlap sack that I took to French class.
Wow. As you do.
And the professor was like, we had an oversight dean,
Yeah.
And he was like, you can't just walk around with like
That much
a
money.
semester of tuition.
Yeah,
And I was
wow.
like, yeah, well, I submitted it. I had to go to class because I had to go to
Yeah.
class.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I was going to give it to anybody else.
Yeah.
And, um, and I submitted it. It was fine. And it was a great event and it all washed
Mm.
out. But it was really a wonderful experience to be among these kids who just thought having events around Baltimore. We got
Mm.
tickets for the football team nearby, for the baseball team nearby, the professional groups,
Mm.
and learning all the local bands, the
Yeah.
comedians,
Yeah.
and then big shows from around the world, De La Soul. And
Oh, amazing.
so having these, like, just being able to plan events and
Mm.
understand, like, the customer experience and the artist experience and the green room and the contracts. At the time, I remember Adam Sandler's contract was like 150 pages long. So we had to go
Wow.
through line by line with his
Yeah.
lawyer to like cut out all the things we couldn't do.
Yeah.
I think it said like within 100 meters of the venue, he requires a full court basketball court.
Oh my God.
So
That
we're
is
like, so we're like,
crazy.
sorry, we just can't do that. And so it helps you like see the humor in, in that, and like how just because something's written by a lawyer that it's not
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's not 100%. So we get into the work world later to see this
Mm.
difference. The
Mm.
other part of college you asked about was Taekwondo, and I joined because Alicia, who was on my who lived somewhere in one of the dorms near us,
Yeah.
was going, and she was like, "Hey, you want to try Taekwondo?" And I was like, "Sure, let's give it a shot."
Yeah.
And I really fell in love with this like relative mastery of
Mm.
my body.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like this goofy, awkward lug.
Mm.
My image of myself was literally what I remember from like eighth grade and middle school, like gaining like 100 pounds in a year and just being like oafy and big and bumping into kids and hurting them.
Mm.
So I just wanted to like be better and have like be able to like
Not,
marshal my physical
yeah, yeah.
force into something
Yeah.
that made sense. And it was really interesting for me to having done karate as a child
Yeah, I was just
when I
going to
didn't
reference
make
that.
sense
Yeah.
to saying, oh, here we are, we're learning these skills.
Mm.
We're going to the what's it called, the ring or the sparring mat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like playing chess. We learn stuff and we're showing it and we're like showing out what we've got. And I'm not here to like break some other college kid's face or
Mm.
bone, though that did happen. It wasn't my goal. We actually two of us we were competing and we actually broke the referee's arm by accident.
Wow.
A woman was jumping in between us to break us up from being together.
Yeah.
We both jumped back. We both kicked with our left leg,
Right.
and we sandwiched her arm,
Oh my God.
and her arm broke. And I just remember her like being on the ground with the first aid guys there, and she was like, "I'm not getting paid enough to do this." We
I
felt so
don't
bad.
blame her. Wow.
But seriously, I really enjoyed like the lesson of one word that comes to mind from Taekwondo is indomitable spirit.
Mm.
That regardless of what's in front of you, that you will participate, that you will go forward
Mm.
without any promise of success, without any promise of winning, that
Mm.
you will participate and you'll hone your craft.
So there's a real connection to wisdom.
Yeah, and I think there was also like there was an art to it, and I think
Mm.
I kind of fell into it maybe where the gap where we're acquiring that creativity was.
Yeah.
This showed up,
Yeah.
and I didn't have any delusion that I'd be like a professional anything. I was not like that talented. I won a couple of small trophies from other
Mhm.
college competitions, but I kind of just listened to the kind of the poetry of the
Mm.
philosophy. Our teachers were good. Other students from Hopkins, and the main school was in New York, in Brooklyn,
Okay.
which we got to visit once in a while.
Mm.
So getting a black belt in Taekwondo was very like felt meaningful. At some point, it was like my only like prized possession.
Mm. Wow. What happened next?
What happened next? My summers were different. I spent a couple summers being a waiter in the
So
restaurant.
you weren't going to India during these
No,
summers?
no, no, no. Once I finished at the end of high school, I went to India,
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't go to India again until after college.
Okay.
I was working as a waiter. I was trying to learn how to make money.
Mm.
I was making around $30 to $40 at lunchtime over 2 or 3 hours, and then making about $50 to $80 at night. And that was like, I think $100 was like a big night, and I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And
So what else did you learn? What did being a waiter skill you up in, other than earning the money?
oh my gosh, I remember literally seeing an article. I don't know, it was Fast Company or something around then, that said, it listed like the 5 most stressful jobs in America.
Yeah.
Like, and like number 1 was like race car driver,
Yeah.
and number 2 was like neurosurgeon, and like just these like these things I wasn't going to be doing, like
Yeah.
at least not that summer. And then one was like waiter, just being a waiter in like a high paced like lunch place.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I got to do that.
Mm.
And part of it was just to like get a sense of my sense of stress. I was I think I get the tendency for like anxiety or pressured speech or
Mm.
garbling, and then like this need to be like this good boy and to like my parents weren't heavy handed about it, but there was just a clear hierarchy for age
Mm-hmm.
from India
Yeah.
that came across to here.
Yeah.
And you see it like in old world like institutions like like hospitals and churches and the police system. Like there's just hierarchy, and you just know
Mm-hmm.
like who the leadership is.
Yeah.
Um, and so being a waiter helped me like just see like lots of interactions with people
Mm.
and lots of feedback loops of like what's reasonable
Mm-hmm.
and how to make small promises
Mm.
and deliver on them
Okay.
and do it well. And also to finally find this. I don't think I knew this till later, but I was really able to see very quickly like who was unreasonable, like which complaints were worth listening to, which complaints were just psychosis or neurosis, and which
Mm.
ones were reasonable,
Okay.
and which ones I'd be also be up for trying.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, I would just say yes, I'll figure it out. Like in India, you ask somebody to solve a problem, and they'll just say yes, and like it might not happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yes, madam, it'll
Yeah.
absolutely quite it'll be done. And then
Great
like the next
accent.
day, like there's actually no step taken. They just had to say yes because that's the programming, just to say yes. And I think I was being like nice and polite, and the decorum was right, and the all the things, but I had to just find myself these feedback loops. I ended up also in summer jobs. The next summer being actually designing websites. I took my friend's class of like web design,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was literally typing like href with
Right.
the bracket and the other bracket, and like the color equals
Yeah.
number 4. And
Coding. Yeah.
yeah, very basic coding. And I
Yeah.
worked for my dad's friend who gave me $10 an hour to make websites
Mm-hmm.
in '96, and then I volunteered in the advertising agency.
Okay. Was that the year
at Young and
after?
Rubicam. Yeah, my father talked to an old friend of his,
Yeah.
and she walked me into a role
Okay.
as an intern. But the intern program was already full,
Mm-hmm.
and so Dot Giannone, bless her soul, like met me, and she was like, "What do you got, kid?" And I was like, "I'm bright. I'll do whatever you need."
Yeah.
And she put me in the Parliament business. Parliament is a Philip Morris brand for cigarettes.
Oh God.
And I was like, how
Really?
about not? It's like, and I'm like, beggars can't be choosers. And I was like, but
Yeah.
maybe it's not a good match for me because I don't really smoke. And she was like, that's great because the two guys you work for, they also don't smoke and they're doing great. And I was like,
Okay.
okay. And she's a railroad of like, it seemed like benevolence and like leadership, and she really understood like the 22-year-old in New York coming in for their first like 4 years of work. She really like understood that personality for a couple decades.
Yeah.
So being in advertising, I got to be in the new business team, and we won some big businesses, including like the biggest account in the history of time was United Airlines pitch. So it was the biggest like global
So you were
account.
involved in that?
I was the most junior person, like getting copies to the thing. So like there was just like this warmth, and I was like I was useful and helpful, and people remembered me enough that like that was a volunteer position. So I ended up working on Fridays because I had a 4-day-a-week job making the websites. So on Fridays I could volunteer.
Yeah.
And every other Friday I had a different boss because they had summer Fridays. So
Okay.
like there's no continuity.
Okay.
And then that last month in August, I did work on the new business pitch. And that's somewhere the year after. And it went well. And
So
the
these
next
were your
year-
summers?
these are my summers.
Right.
It was so, I mean, it's tough to live in New York City on like $10 an hour. And then the next summer I got $300 a week for my internship.
Yeah.
And I was no longer volunteering at the world's biggest ad agency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the year after, and then that at the end of, before my senior year started, before my 4th year at university started, I was offered a job.
Okay.
So I started my last year.
At the same agency?
At the same agency.
Right. Okay.
So I bought myself some time, and after graduation I could work from like October. So I had like a 4-month break to go to India and travel a little bit. So it was really nice to have a 4th year, like having a job in place.
Yeah.
And then I just got to study things I wanted to study.
I'm just curious, like, these jobs that you had in your summers, like, did you have any idea that you were gonna work or what you wanted to do? Was there any awareness of what you really wanted to do? Did you shape it consciously, or did it just find you?
I think I've learned from my father to just trust that it'll work out. That if I take steps forward and I spend time near people who I admire,
Mm.
um, that it'll work itself out. And that if the other lesson he was saying that was that I shouldn't run from anything, that I should run towards things. I shouldn't leave a job because I hate it. I should pursue a job because I love it,
Mm.
or have any
You were taught that from a young
positive
age?
from around that age, because I
Okay.
was trying to leave, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Don't just leave. Go
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find a job when you don't have a
Yeah.
job."
Wise words. Yeah.
Um, and and it was to be near people who are performing at a high level, to tell story through advertising.
Mm.
It's a wonderful skill, because we're really practicing learning. I wouldn't say empathy, but we are listening for what that customer is willing to, what they tend to do, and what they're willing to do beyond what they already do. To consider my 7-Up or my pasta sauce or my telephone option or whatever, what have you.
Mm.
And I did at some point think, like, what if I became this and this and this role, and became a group director, and then moved to this country and became head of this, and imagine being a CEO of something.
Mm-hmm.
But I did realize pretty soon that I wasn't eating or consuming the services I was helping sell.
Okay. So you weren't really aligned with it.
For sure. And I knew
Yeah.
and then I realized what also disillusioned me a little was I realized we don't really get to choose our clients.
Mm.
That, like, even when you're at the biggest agency in the world, you already have a pasta group, and you can't really have any other food clients, because
Yeah.
they all see them as competitors.
Mm-hmm.
Even I think back then, Hallmark saw AT&T as a competitor, because writing cards and phone calls would compete with each other
Really?
for the
Oh,
attention
wow.
span.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Well, it's not a fact.
Yeah.
It's just something that we say. It's something that we say. So that the extent to which one client can be offended by you taking on a different one, and there's less focus. Right now, your best
Yeah.
talent is on the biggest new client coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I did really understand that there was power in telling story. That there was power in learning to work with people from different ages and different levels of experience. And so and maybe, like, I'm 6'3", and I'm a tall guy, so maybe I seem like a little older than my 22-year-old friends, who are also 22. And I just wanted to learn, like, the art of, like, catching this, of, like, understanding the center of the story. And that's really come with me forever, ever since, to understand, to really put myself in the shoes of the customer, of the end user of a thing, and to build a story back to us as to why we deserve their attention and their money and their participation, by really listening and hopefully solving for what they need.
Yeah.
And I really joined advertising instead of doing a nonprofit or an NGO, because as I was looking at summer roles from Hopkins, I did realize that, like, I kind of taught myself, or decided to believe, that nonprofit groups weren't good at making young leaders into having, like, really large, like, meaningful, like, budgets. Like, managing a $5 or $10 million budget doesn't happen in your 20s in many places, right? And so, and even to become the head of a nonprofit group, like, someone comes in from the side, or, like, a lot of people have to die over 20 years, and, like, I was like, I just didn't see that path for myself.
Okay.
But then one day I realized I was done with it. I was getting, like, kind of sick, maybe because
Physically sick?
well, I at that point, I think I was becoming, like, celiac, gluten-free, like, gluten problems, and I was every meal was gluten. It was bagels in the morning. It was Homefront Deli sandwich in the afternoon,
New York.
and pasta and sauce at night, or whatever some restaurant had, for the few restaurants we could go to.
Yeah.
So I was falling asleep at meetings, and, like, my belly was upset, and my skin was breaking out, and I was, like, not sleeping well, and all kinds of things.
This is why you're in full-time work after you graduated.
This is like a few years of being in my 20s. Yeah. So I ended up working, including my internships, about 8 years in advertising.
Okay.
Until 2004.
Okay.
And then I kind of negotiated to be laid off.
Okay.
My friend got laid off. I negotiated to be laid off. And that's when it's kind of when my dad was saying, like, don't run, but I kind of ran. But basically I figured out that they were offering layoffs.
Yeah.
And my friend and I, we were in the city, and I found that she was, like, depressed about it, because it had been, like, she'd been asked to be laid off, and I asked to be laid off. And that position was really, like, eye-opening for me to see that we were in the same position. We this, in fact, she had a higher position and more money. We were the same age, maybe like 2 years apart,
Mm-hmm.
and we had access to New York in the spring for like 5 months of income,
Mm.
and we can go to museums and go to parks
Just have
and
fun.
and apply to jobs and
Yeah.
like do
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Plan.
Um, but and I just realized this inflection point of like how you see the day, like would affect how like our health, our
Mm.
outlook, like how we like digest food, how we like tolerate food, how we see connection, how we allow ourselves to have connection.
Mm.
These are all very different. My last day of work in advertising was my first day of teacher training for yoga.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
I
so
had
when did yoga start coming into your life? Like, how did you know that that was going to be the path?
I realized that martial arts, that taekwondo wasn't for me, like into my
Okay.
life.
Was that after you got your black belt?
I got my black belt while I was still in college in my third year in university. So I'm 21.
Yeah.
Got that. Finished school, finished university a year later. I went to the Brooklyn school a few times,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a few dozen times. But it was just it was 90 minutes from work to get there and then to
Yeah.
get back to my apartment and then barely sleep.
Mm.
And I also knew as a 65-year-old one day, I wouldn't be kicking another 65-year-old to like
Yeah.
seem better that week.
Mm.
So my friend Vilasini, she got me into yoga. She introduced me to Elena Brower, who ended up teaching for decades
Mm-hmm.
on Houston Street, among other places.
And this is while you were working in
This is while I
the
was working,
advertising agency.
just participating on Saturday mornings at
Okay.
9 or 10 or 11 a.m.
Mm.
And that would be like a day, which is really nice to just enjoy the day of like that movement. I went to a bunch of different schools to see which were like the most like famous or prominent or had the best programs for teaching. And I made sure to take class with the leadership or the owners, or sometimes it's one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked Ishta Yoga. Alan Finger was wonderful.
Mm.
He had just a nice way about him. Just seemed elegant and kind of sweet, and easy to follow.
Yeah.
And so, literally January 9th, 2004, I finished. I walked from my advertising agency, and I basically walked around the city for a couple hours, and I started that evening, that Friday night, with
That evening.
a teacher training. Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, I'd planned it like in the previous few weeks,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I think there was like 20 of us in that program.
So was your intention at the time to practice some yoga as a temporary measure, or to do it as fun? Like, or was it something you were seriously thinking of pursuing? And was your health at the time dictating your next step? Like, did you feel really physically unwell?
Oh, interesting. I just knew it wasn't the right path. I wasn't like
Okay.
crumbling.
Yeah.
I wasn't like
There was no
a few
nervous
people would ask who
breakdown.
knew me were like, "Oh, you look kind of run down. Like you're just
Right.
like."
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us are working like 60 and 70 and
Yeah.
80 hour
Yeah.
weeks, like
Yeah.
quite literally. We had friends in the banking and friends in art in consulting, and they're wearing a suit and a tie,
Mm.
and they get there early and they leave there late, and they're there on Saturdays, and we
I've
look a
been
little
there,
peaked.
yeah.
We're not seeing sunlight. We're like
Yeah.
our eyes look different, and we
Yeah.
look shadows of our former self sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I did not take teacher training in order to become a yoga teacher.
Okay.
I took teacher training so I wouldn't not need one.
So you wanted to do your own yoga?
I just wanted to be able to go to Central Park or go to any park and
Yeah.
need the least stuff to be moving around to be healthy.
Okay. Okay.
For Taekwondo, you kind of need you need that whole feedback of like people pushing you and back in the competition, and that's like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for yoga, I just felt there was a more elegant way to be and to move around. And I really still wanted to continue the path of like being, and I think of like if there's a theme in my story, it was like being awkward as a middle schooler,
Mm-hmm.
and then finding ways to be less awkward and less awkward, which is kind of
I'm hearing
how
it.
this name, this podcast came.
Yeah.
And then as I found martial arts, I've gotten more graceful, and I think yoga is more graceful than Taekwondo,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And then later, really adding science to it, and then storytelling to it, to like find a way to actually share that everyone has access to this.
So yeah, we're gonna get to that bit. So when you were, so how long was your teacher training?
It was 19 days.
Straight.
It was 19 11-hour days, and they decided that they would never do that again. It was
11 hours days. Wow.
what's 11 times 19? It's like,
That's crazy.
it's up there. So it's 199 hours, I think. 190.
And
yeah.
did everybody?
209 hours, yeah.
Wow.
It was, I think that's right. I mean, it's been a long time. They've never done it since, so you won't even find like references
Yeah.
probably online to that.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
not wise. We were just so tired.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So that was a 200-hour training, and I think within a month of that, the 300-hour, the subsequent training began, and that's 300 hours over a year.
Okay.
And so that was wonderful. We got to shadow.
So you joined that class as well.
I joined that, and then I met Sarah Finger, Sarah Platt, who married Alan Finger, so they became a couple later, and they co-led Ishta Yoga soon after that. But she was in my program, and we would just hang out and talk yoga and movement and health and fitness, and then I'd run into people talking about different kinds of diets or veganism or vegetarianism, and at that point, I was vegan for about 6 months at that time. I'd say it's still 04, and it didn't suit me, or can't say it didn't suit me, partly because I guess I wasn't like committed to finding the diets that really worked, the recipes that worked for me.
For you, yeah.
So I'm not saying it's impossible, but it just didn't, the way I executed it didn't work for me.
Okay.
And I very quickly I was asked by friends to teach for them, to cover for them at the grade 1 and grade 2 class in Chinatown among students who didn't speak any English.
Yeah.
And then I started looking for roles I happened to be teaching nurses at Bellevue.
Right.
In the child psych ward at St. Vincent's. And,
Yoga. All of this is yoga.
Teaching yoga. Yeah, teaching yoga and
Right.
movement, and then sometimes teaching like women at some gym club to do pool movement and stuff, and I could find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it ended up just being fun, and I was in the meantime doing like what's called moonlighting for advertising. I did a couple small roles at small agencies. Found friends from my old agency who were like this little advertising diaspora. And pretty quickly I realized I would not be going back to advertising eagerly.
Yeah.
But I'd be open to it, but I wouldn't like seek it out. And as I asked myself, how would yoga look at the highest level? That's when I was first considering, would I take science classes?
So how old were you when this happened?
I took my first science class 2005.
Okay.
So I'm 20.
So it was a year later.
I'm 29. Yeah, it's because it was January versus like the end. So I joined Columbia September
Yeah.
almost 2 years later.
Okay.
And then I started taking science classes. At first I took it at Hunter College, and then I transferred to Columbia, which is much more expensive, like 5 times the price.
Yeah.
Um,
So you knew you wanted to be in the medical field. When you say science classes, what do you mean by that?
I was considering DPT, a doctorate of physical therapy. I was considering a DO, a doctor of osteopathy, and medical degree.
Okay.
All the while teaching yoga, and I thought there'd be a nice mix. I've had good friends who are in the medical field, and we disagree about what the role of medicine is, and some of the conspiracy discussions that we hear now, like were, for me, born around that time, to understand like what's proactive health look like versus avoiding pathology. Is health like coming from your current state of peace and equanimity to make that like last functionally as long as possible, or do you just go about your life until something bad happens, and then you try to minimize that bad?
Yeah.
And I think there are very different ways of participating in your health.
Okay. And that happened around that. So you started your science classes at the end of September 2005.
Yeah.
And it was general health.
So it's a 2-year pre-medical program.
Okay. Okay. How
called
did
the
your parents feel about you doing this? Like, was there any resistance from them? They were even more proud?
I think my mom was just like kind of like benevolently rolled her eyes. And she was like, they kind of just trusted what we would be fine.
Yeah.
And they never really pushed us to be in any one direction or the other really fiercely.
Just go towards where you want to be.
She was a very good student and pursued math to a very high level. And my father was really studied more history and philosophy and went into advertising. He asked me when I was pursuing medicine, he said, why would you possibly pursue healing the physical body when you know and understand that healing the software manages the hardware in every situation? in your phone, now in our cars, computers, and in the body. So, um,
Your father's a very wise man.
yeah, yeah, you can hear him here. We actually
I
my,
can
one of my
hear him
last
here.
conversations was at this table with him,
Yeah.
talking about his motivations. So yeah, so he's his thinking about how we participate in the world definitely is a theme in my life.
Mm. So, so you started doing the medical side of your education. You started
Yep, did a
learning,
2 year pre-medical
and then what
post-bac
happened?
program. Um, a classmate and I, we both became the co-presidents the next year for the second year of that class. We got to manage and lead the largest medical school fair in the East Coast.
Hmm.
So we thought, we're inviting about 27 medical schools to Columbia University, and we
Yeah.
get to meet all those deans.
Yeah.
So as the organizer, we got to meet these people, and we had like a slight, like just a brighter relationship with them than we would if we weren't like
Mm.
having this FaceTime. And the dean of PNS of Columbia Physicians and Surgeons, I
Mm.
got to ask him once at that table, at that event, what correlates with success for medical students from anything before, like across the populations. Because I think he was at like 90 plus at that time.
Wow.
And he'd seen
Wow.
oodles and oodles, thousands upon thousands of medical students. And he is much loved by the few
Mm.
people I know who went to those programs. And, excuse me. He said the only thing that correlates with success in medical school is professional or Division One, which is the highest level of college athletics. And he said there's nowhere else where you put your head down and participate for practice after practice after practice, um, without any clear way of victory. You know that you just, and that's all med school is. He said you just show up to the desk,
Mm.
to the library, and you study the thing and you study the thing and you study the thing, and at some point you're going to fail in front of your patient
Mm.
or somebody, and hopefully your training like supports you. Because the MCAT, which is the multiple choice test that gets you there, those numbers don't correlate to success in medical school or in medical careers
Mm.
very well. And and I'm not saying that it's true or that we should live by that, but
Mm.
it reminded me of that first interview back at Hopkins,
Yeah.
um, and saying, oh, I guess I have a taste. I kind of resembled that remark.
Mm.
I felt like, okay, that's, and it also was clear to me. I mentioned my physics teacher
Yeah.
and how I literally hadn't taken science classes for
Yeah.
like, I don't know, more than 10 years at least, if not 14 years.
Yeah.
Um, and when I realized I should pursue I am pursuing medicine, or that I'm a doctor to be, all these other things in the way were just like facts. Like I just had to take organic chemistry. It wasn't like, oh, how hard is organic chemistry going to be? I
You
knew I'd
just
take
knew
it.
you
I
need to
knew it
take
would be
it.
part of my like
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
I do what I can with it, and it is meant to weed people out, is my assessment.
Mm.
Um, and you will come across harder days than having an organic chemistry test in the hospital.
Mm. Wow.
Um,
That's really interesting. So you went to university, you studied, you organized events again. Uh,
yeah. Oh, so during that time, I also wanted to make sure that I could walk away at any time.
right.
So I also signed up for a 2 year volunteer program at St. Vincent's Medical Center,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't exist anymore in downtown Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And Sister Mary Pat Clark, who was a lovely nun in the Catholic
Mm.
in the Catholic faith, who led this volunteer program. I think she said something like, "You can join this volunteer program, but you can't miss. Like, you pick your day of the week,
Mm-hmm.
you don't miss any. I don't care if you have like weddings or
You just show up.
funerals or what. You don't miss. You don't miss more than two out of like
Mm.
200 weeks. Like a 1% tolerance for absence.
Wow.
And I went in the first department that we had to do some basic ones like being in security and being on transport, like rolling patients to the right room. But the first time I could choose a clinical one, I chose pathology.
Mm.
Pathology is studying the tissue and the diagnostics, actually taking like, if you take a little something off the skin and you send it downstairs, like
Yeah.
there's somebody there to
To do
analyze it
the
and
yeah.
study it and just to hopefully have a diagnosis.
Yeah.
So it's a really crucial role.
Yeah.
But also from the layman point of view, it's also where like the blood and guts are like presented in a room with like maybe half a dozen to a dozen people, depending on the size of the hospital.
Yeah.
So you see like breast tissue, like
Mm.
you see a breast and you see it's like sliced like a loaf, and you
Mm.
see like it's just like you have to ask yourself like, can you be in the room with this? There's
Yeah.
blood and there's stuff and there's
Yeah.
limbs and there's
It's
bits and
raw.
pieces.
Mm.
Um, and am I gonna faint and sweat, or am I gonna feel lightheaded, or am I gonna be curious and try to figure it out,
So
or
this was your
just live my
first
life?
experience?
Well, I just chose. I was like, I've got to go. I've got to know relatively soon.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking out all these loans to go to
Yeah, yeah,
Columbia.
yeah.
Like I got to know if I'm going to be in the situation.
Yeah.
So I did pathology first, and then the very next one I think was surgery.
Mm.
And my first surgery I saw was was an open heart surgery. Wow, I forgot almost. There's an open heart surgery, and I think she was a 21-year-old Chinese woman,
Wow.
over 20 years ago now, and she had and like I've learned all the I've learned language,
Mm.
and the
The medical
terminology in the
language.
meantime.
Mm.
But she had an open path from one ventricle to the other,
Mm-hmm.
and so she had an inefficient life,
Mm.
inefficient circulation, inefficient oxygenation of her blood,
Mm-hmm.
and so the surgeon was able to, like, while it was beating, to like close it,
Mm.
and it was just super striking and eye opening to be able to be there, and so I was very excited. Um, yeah, just overall pretty lucky, and I was like,
Was that your
this'll
turning
do.
point to knowing?
No, my real turning point was 9/11. Before all that, I was in advertising 2001. I forgot this.
Wow. Okay.
And first building hits. My brother calls me. He says, "Oh, look at the news. A building hit the towers."
Where were you at the time?
I was walking from my apartment to the subway to get to work.
In New York.
Yep, in New York City. I took the subway to 42nd Street, walked 2 blocks to 40th Street, got upstairs. I was a few minutes late for work that day. Go upstairs. I think it was a Tuesday. It was a beautiful day.
Mm.
Go upstairs. Everyone's watching
Screens.
the screens, and I don't know, maybe half an hour. It could have been any amount of time, but at some point the second building hits, because the first building was hit, and it was like no one thought much of it.
Mm.
We're all referencing that in 1933 or 39 that some
It was an
biplane
accident. Yeah.
hit the Empire State Building, and like
Mm.
one guy died. The pilot died, I think. And we had no idea how big the thing was and who was involved. And within the hour, the second one hit. And then, like, literally the two women in that room were squealing. And like, I got to call my husband. He's got friends in that building. And then somebody else had to call. And very quickly, the phone lines were just full.
Yeah.
This
John.
is 2001. There's no iPhones.
Mm.
There's still phone, what's it called? Phone booths? Phone booths on the
Phone
corners, on the
booths.
streets.
Yeah.
So everyone leaves.
There were
And our
mobiles, but
boss,
they weren't like
there was a
smartphones.
StarTAC. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the big, like,
Yeah.
satellite phone. Your one cousin had like the Uber priced phone. Um, anyway, we go down. Boss says, obviously, like, works out. Go take care of yourself and your family. Hundreds of thousands of us are walking north on Madison Avenue, crossing 42nd Street. I'm saying, taking good looks at the Empire State Building, at the
Twin Towers. Mm.
no, I'm taking a good look at the Grand Central and at the Chrysler Building,
Okay.
and just like being like, just wondering if this was the last time I
Yeah.
see these
Yeah.
buildings. Just like I remember that angle, looking up and seeing both those buildings in one view, just not knowing what was up. Went to see my friend Amanda, who worked on 73rd and Madison. We walked further north to 90 something. Went to Central Park, had a sandwich, but and it was like the super beautiful day. Calm. There were
I
families
remember
in Central
seeing
Park,
on the screen. Yeah. Blue
and you could
skies.
see this large smoke across.
Yeah.
So for the next few weeks, I went to work during the day, most of the day. I think the first week we were off. And so they were taking volunteers at the Javits Center, which is a giant convention center.
Mm-hmm.
So thousands of us were down there. There were all these trucks coming in, sandwiches, water bottles, and surprisingly, little gloves for dogs, little booties, like glass-proof ones, because the dogs were the ones looking for people
Mm.
in all the fire and the wreckage.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like hundreds of thousands of panes of glass shattered. So
Yeah.
these dogs are walking around with
Yeah.
like hundreds of shards of glass in their paws.